Hey everybody, welcome back to another Reasonable Price Prediction, the series where we try to figure out where your favorite altcoins could be headed. Now today we are looking at Filecoin, and since last time we checked Filecoin out, which was about 3 weeks ago, not too much has changed. The one exception being that we expected Filecoin to break down below this bull market support band most likely, and in fact it has not. It's actually bounced off this bull market support band. And you can see these circles here. If you didn't watch the last video, that's basically us drawing information from the previous cycle. So these circles here represent the circle of color in the current cycle, and we basically saw that last time we moved up and down within this range, and we put in an orange and then eventually came down to these $2.50 below $3 lows right before the halving. And that was what this green circle represented. Currently, we are not on track to do that at all. We've actually bounced back up, and perhaps if we'd moved down below and closed, this would be a much more likely scenario. I can see a pattern where we eventually come down to this low if we broke down below the bull market support band before the halving. But realistically now, with this bounce, and currently we're on our way to probably check these $6 ranges again, the $7 local top, retest that potentially. It doesn't look like we'll be moving back down to these lows of sub $3 before the halving. And I mean, it's really difficult for it to be before the halving because we have about 9 weeks before, 9 weeks before we reach the halving, give or take. So it is possible, maybe we spend 1 week going up and then we spend the next 5 weeks going down, maybe we wick below. But something I am not holding out for is becoming more and more unlikely as time goes on. So just something to be aware of. We got most of the other stuff right. We called this orange one before it happened. We said we'd most likely move to a local top and then bring it back down if it was going to play out the same way. We got the orange, but so far we haven't got the green. And that does just bring up the question of, is Filecoin making a new move? Is it deviating from its previous performance? And like I say in a lot of my videos, when you zoom out, these coins look very similar. But when you zoom into the specific time frames, stuff changes all the time and becomes unpredictable, and it's kind of like impossible, aside from doing long-term predictions, to say where the alt will go in question. So basically we could be seeing something new where we have a trend, maybe potentially of Filecoin just moving up. Again, it's one of these deep in coins now, that's this narrative that's been blowing up where, decentralized infrastructure. And if we take a look at like what happened to coins when a certain narrative was promoted, like AI and gaming so far, we've seen these coins do crazy moves and they've come out of nowhere. They've launched, like 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and they've done these crazy rallies of 30x's in a non-Bullrun year, in like the halving year, or the pre-halving year, which is like historically not a great year for crypto. It's not the worst out of the seasonality of the 4-year cycle, but it's definitely not the best. And now that this, again, the deep in narrative that has suddenly come into play, basically the start of this year, sort of November, December time, last year, Filecoin has been doing well. And something like this could carry Filecoin up, because before, when we were at this sort of stage, during the halving of 2020, there wasn't as much hype around Filecoin. Now, there was hype around Filecoin. Everybody was very interested in having a decentralized storage, but it also wasn't the first to do it. It was just one of the bigger names to do it, and one of the altcoins that exploded last season. But again, a 99% drop from the all-time high to the all-time low does kind of scare me a little bit. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe now this is a chance to get in on the ground floor for a second time. Maybe it's one of these alts that you can get really lucky with, and if Filecoin does return to its all-time high, it's like 37x, like we checked. From current prices, if you were to buy Filecoin now, you're looking at about a 37x, which is great. And if Filecoin does do that, that's brilliant. And this deep in narrative could carry it there. If I didn't think there was big hype around deep in, and if I'm getting posts now and on X and Reddit, Filecoin is being popped up in my recommended. There's obviously people talking, wanting to learn about Filecoin, and there is interest and a bit of hype around it. I don't know if that would be there if there wasn't this deep in narrative, because every notification I've got, it's been tied in with some deep in subreddit or some deep in Twitter user, whatever. I think deep in is basically rescuing Filecoin, and whereas before I could have seen Filecoin not returning to these all-time highs. And I've said this in previous videos when we've covered Filecoin back in like September and October of last year when deep-in wasn't a thing. Now that it is a thing, it could be something that carries Filecoin up, and we could be seeing that playing out here with this bounce off the bull market support band. It's definitely not impossible. So just something to keep, like, be aware of. And again, like I always say, when you zoom out, these things look the same. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up. And here it is. So far it's gone up, it's come down. It could potentially be going up. So zooming out, things always look similar, but when you zoom in, things are very, very, very different. Now we are seeing this move, this positive move on altcoins all across the board. So it's not just a Filecoin exclusive pump. The whole crypto space is seeing this. And in terms of how well Filecoin has done, it's done about what most alts have. It's very comparable to Phantom, where it did like a kind of a meager move. It wasn't at the forefront of the crazy moves. And now we've had a retracement, and we're about 2x from where we were back in October sort of time, when this rally sort of took place or started. And if we take a look at what happened before, say we sort of go from this blue and see how far Filecoin rallied up, we can see it was about a 120, 150% range that we moved within. So again, things still are playing similarly, but not exactly the same. Like before here, we were moving up and down and below our bull market support band, and it was basically a horizontal line for almost a year, basically from like July to May. Here it's a lot more all over the place, and we're seeing much more stronger moves down and stronger moves up. And again, a very bullish thing that Filecoin has bounced off this line. Just something to be aware of. Last time, after the halving, Filecoin basically didn't go back below its bull market support band after the halving. It rallied up, and it moved to $22 in the space of 2 months after the halving, from a price of $4.50. Now, again, I'm not saying things will play out the same, but if we do pass the halving week at a price of somewhere around $4.50, which does seem quite low, but it is this support here that we revisited, maybe we won't come back down there. Again, we'd have to break below the bull market support band for that to happen, so that would imply a lot of different things. So say we pass the bull market support band at the halving at $6, you're looking at a $24 Filecoin by sometime in August. And, you know, there is usually some sort of a pullback a few months, sort of 5-6 months before the bull run year. We do see this. It's not up always. Like, we get a bit of it here. Again, Filecoin didn't experience too much of it last cycle, but that's because when Filecoin took off, it was crazy, and everyone wanted to get Filecoin because they thought it was the way of the future. You know, it's true decentralization. You can have total freedom. You can put whatever you want, save whatever you want to Filecoin, and it'll be there forever. Nobody can take that down. It was a very cool idea, and it still is a very cool idea. Of course, it doesn't play out exactly like that, but that's what everyone thought, you know. They'd rather buy it and be wrong than actually take the time to look into how it worked and maybe reconsider investing. But basically, if you're going to take something away from this, previously, Filecoin rode the bull market support band all the way up for a year after the halving, more or less. And it had pullbacks, but the pullbacks weren't as significant as they were on other altcoin pairs. It could play out the same because of this new revival in the deep-in narrative, but it also could see like a lack of interest because there are other decentralized storage competitors out there now compared to back here. It's also a totally different market. It's also a 32x away from its all-time high, which is a very difficult thing for an altcoin with a $3 billion market cap to do. Even in a bull run, that's still difficult. So if you believe that Filecoin will return to these highs, you're probably one of your best times to buy is now. If you don't think so, and it's only going to return to maybe $100 or maybe even a little higher, a little lower, still probably your best time to buy is around now. But maybe you're not too fussed about getting in straight away because you want to see it be a bit more confident in the meantime. Because again, we haven't broken back above our 2023 high when a lot of altcoins exploded up. And that is usually like a good sign. And the main cryptos that I would put a lot of weight into have done this. Like ADA, for example, has broken up above the 2023 revival rally. Avalanche, Solana, Chainlink, all these other cryptos, they've moved above where they were during this time. And for Filecoin to not have does kind of show a bit of uninterest, if you will. Or maybe it shows there's decent competition. But I'm kind of speculating too much at this point. So I'm going to move on to the Bitcoin pair with Filecoin. And again, very similar to what we saw last time. I like how this graph is separated and spaced out. I feel like it gives a very clear explanation of what we expect to see during these time frames. One of the cool important things is that we're currently around this pink purple line. Currently we can see that's what we lined up to about 4 years ago, and what's currently happening is we're bouncing off this support line of about 1,000 satoshis. If we zoom in here, the last cycle we bounced off this value of 3,000, 4,000 satoshis, sorry, 3,000 like 900, 800 to 4,000 satoshi range. We bounced off during, before and after this sort of new year waymark, this waypoint. And then once we passed the halving, that's when Filecoin started to outperform Bitcoin. But we can see that Filecoin has basically underperformed Bitcoin ever since its peak in May of 2021, which isn't unusual for altcoins. But what is a little scary is that it's dipped well below its initial low or its initial evaluation against Bitcoin. You know, Filecoin was very comfortable at 23,000 satoshis and even went low as sort of 10,000 satoshis, and that was considered low. Now we're at a point where we're at 1,000 satoshis, and well, yeah, that's considered pretty damn low. And to me, it's a bit scary. I don't like to see altcoins lose value to Bitcoin over the long period of time. I feel like they should slowly trend up if they have any real staying power. And the move that keeps them relevant is the bull market move, where they take a really strong move up and then they lose 60-70% on the Bitcoin pair after a 600, 700, 800% move during that bull run year. And the fact that it has dipped below and just continued to plummet and stayed below its bull market support band for basically over 2 years now, 2.5 years, kind of worries me. However, that doesn't mean it can't outperform. And if we see a really stellar move from Filecoin during this bull market, we could potentially see a revival and something that keeps it kicking in terms of Filecoin moving back to a 31,000 Satoshi price. I don't know. Like, that would require a 31x on the Bitcoin pair. And that doesn't usually happen to high cap altcoins like Filecoin, especially during the best of times, like when, you know, we're in the middle of a bull run, and even if it's totally centered around a deep in, which it could be, there's still the AI and gaming narratives that will feed and pull from each other. I can't see that happening on the Bitcoin pair. And I'm not saying that because I think Bitcoin will perform amazingly. I'm saying that because I can't see Filecoin outperforming Bitcoin to the magnitude of 37 times. Because if Bitcoin does a 2x during the bull run, a 2x, that means Filecoin has to do a 74x on its US dollar pair. And if we switch back, a 74x is, you know, I mean, it definitely puts us in all-time highs. I mean, for example, a 60x would put Filecoin, you know, at just about $370. So if we shrink this down and take a 74x from current prices, you're looking at a $450 Filecoin, which is not impossible. I mean, our all-time high previously was 230. So you're looking at basically a double of what we are at of our previous all-time high. To me, that seems unlikely, extremely unlikely. But maybe to you, it's something that could happen. Again, this comes down to your risk management. But in terms of where I see Filecoin going, I don't expect it to go above its all-time high. That's what I'm saying. And maybe that's a conservative approach, but for me, with the interest that is being shown in the cryptocurrency, yes, there's more interest. Yes, it's involved in this deep in narrative. I think the newer, more flashier deep in cryptos and decentralized storages that are brand new and introducing this new technology, whatever thing they try to peddle, I think that will steal a lot of the price movements that old, outdated Filecoin could have had. And I don't mean those things as in like an insult. I'm saying them as in what I think most people will view it as. Would you rather buy the older, tried and true decentralized storage, or would you like to take a bit of a risk and put it in something cooler and it has this technology and it has this person working on it and everyone's super excited about it? You know, which one sounds more likely for you to make a lot more money? I know which one I would say, but I know which one I would choose if I knew the market was rational and bought things that had proved themselves. I would go Filecoin, but oftentimes the new flashier things do very well. The same way Filecoin was the new flashy thing here and it performed very well. it's now no longer the new flashy thing. So I don't expect it to perform amazingly like this again. But that's just what I think. Again, back to the Bitcoin pair, we see it kind of bounces off this range and then takes off as we pass the halving. What we're currently seeing now is this bounce up and down, oscillation, and as we enter the halving, we will most likely move up on our Bitcoin pair. But again, I don't expect it to move back to this 31,000 Satoshi level. I definitely don't see it returning to this 0.023 Bitcoin level. That is crazy. Ultimately, if we see Filecoin return to like these lows here, which I assume will hold a very strong resistance for Filecoin. Draw this quickly here so we can see. This is still basically equivalent to a 6x, or sorry, a 4x, which isn't terrible on a Bitcoin pair, but once it hits this level, I would be very suddenly bearish on Filecoin in terms of how it's going to perform against Bitcoin. And realistically, if Bitcoin starts outperforming Filecoin, it's either a dead alt or you've just had your great bull run and now things are starting to shake and the bull run is already peaked and we're taking back some of that value and we're going to see these catastrophic drops like we see in 2022. That's just my 2 cents though, that's what I think. So that wraps up the video, guys. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Comment down below what I got right and what I got wrong. I oftentimes mix up stuff or say something wrong, so always catch me out and comment it down below. Consider signing up to FairDesk, the exchange, with the link in the description. Not only do you get a deposit bonus, but you also have extremely low trading fees, so it helps you save as much money and make as much gains as you possibly can. And I also think it's very important to have multiple exchanges set up so that when the bull run comes, if one goes down, you have multiple ways of accessing and buying and selling in the market, which is of course extremely important because you can lose serious gains if you're unable to access your funds or trade them. So consider signing up with FairDesk. It also helps out the channel. Thanks very much, guys. I love hearing from you guys down in the comments as well. I've been having great chats, really good thought-provoking questions. It's awesome chatting to you and I love the support you guys are giving me. It's crazy. I actually can't believe that real people are saying such kind things about me and interested in what I want to say. So thank you so much. Take care, guys. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace.